Welcome everybody to this drop-in session on EasySpeak. It's my great pleasure to introduce Adrian Lane, who's going to run this. Adrian has been a Toastmasters for 10 years. He's been a member of 8 clubs. Now you can have talk about that to him later. He's also started EasySpeak in 2 clubs, and he's telling me early he's been really under the hood, been right into the control panel. So I think he's really well versed and perfectly capable of helping us get over our initial fumbling around EasySpeak and to make it obvious how we can take better advantage of it. So thank you very much indeed, Adrian. I will hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janet, and welcome everybody to be a bit of an interactive and interesting hour or so. It is an hour, isn't it? Before I get
Yes.
too confused.
Yeah, it
Uh,
is.
any questions, dive in, interrupt me whenever you want to, no big deal. Uh, one of the uh, providers I'll say at the beginning is that there's 2 ways of doing Easy Speak training. We can either do it as a club officer or a VPE type of role, how the VPE uses it, or how the member uses it. I'm going to aim it mainly tonight at how the members use it. The reason I'm doing that is because if you are a VPE, it's a lot of hard work, but it doesn't have to be as much hard work as it appears if the members are well trained and they understand how it works. Then it actually becomes quite easy or easier, certainly, for the members to be able to uh, make life easy for the officers and for the VPA. But let me share my screen. Let's dive straight in. Okay, we're going to talk about it. We'll go a little bit off piste on Easy Speak and then back into it and back and forward, because I think there's actually a very simple and structured way of bringing new members into the clubs. And depending on where you are in the clubs, there's a way of doing it. And I'll talk you through that. On the right hand side over here, we've got pathways. I'm not going to go into pathways, although I'm going to have to touch on it because, of course, pathways and Easy Speak link together. And I'm going to talk about projects in the middle of it. Over this left-hand side is where I'm going to really focus. EasySpeak onboarding and then EasySpeak flying solo, because they are quite different processes. I'm going to use the aeronautical analogies, of course, because I used to be in the aerospace industry, and that's a childish thing to do, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to put EasySpeak onboarding. I think it's through that reasonably quick because I'm assuming most of you are actually used to EasySpeak. If you're not, then you're a new member, and maybe it's not so likely you've joined today's training. Let's do EasySpeak onboarding first of all. Let's think about what EasySpeak is. There's 3 parts of EasySpeak, and it's really simple to remember it as a member. It's first of all, are you going to a meeting? What role do you want to do? And are you going to do a speech? And it's as simple as ABC, those 3 things. If you're an officer, it's very difficult to be different because you're managing what everybody else is doing in there rather than focusing on yourself. But as a member, the VPE and the club want to know, are you coming? Are you doing a speech and or doing a role? Quite interesting. Those of you that don't know, there are 2 forms of agenda. There's actually a summary agenda and a detailed agenda. Most clubs don't actually realize the difference and use them. There's a big difference here. The summary agenda should be aimed at new members, visitors, and experienced members with just the key tasks in there. Speaker 1, evaluation, speaker 2, evaluation, for example. Detailed agenda would be like a script for the Toastmaster of the evening with every single introduction and handover in there and task to do. So things like filling out the evaluation slip afterwards, the Toastmaster quite often forgets it. But on the detailed agenda, the VPE can set up a template and actually have that in there as a prompt or a note for the Toastmaster. And you can print off a number of detailed agendas, the Toastmaster, the timer, the VPE, and then everybody else gets the summary agenda. So my recommendation would be, if your club isn't using those 2, you can generate it from the same data. Once the template's set up, you can print the summary agenda and the detailed agenda. I also recommend a time on every single one of those. So there's a lot of things you could play around with different agendas. The other impressive thing about EasySpeak is it keeps the history of who did what and when historically, and you can look back and check on it. The predefined meeting template is fundamental to how that works and how easy the agenda is to use. Okay, let's dispel the usual myth. What's the website? There are three. Most of the questions are people get this wrong. In the UK, it's toastmasterclub.org. There are two other ones, one that's used in Europe and one that's used in the rest of the world. And the rest of the world one is called EasySpeak. So many people log into the wrong one. So if you are training anybody or you're struggling with it yourself, it's Toastmaster without the S, club.org for the UK and Ireland one. And when it opens up, you'll actually see District 71 because District 71 used to be the UK and Ireland before it split into 71 and 91. When you open it up for the first time, there's a little blue word register there, which you click on to allow you to register with the platform. I recommend every new member gets this training within the first couple of weeks of them joining. And so there's some terms and conditions to read, which you'll agree to, obviously, or else you probably wouldn't be going through and doing it. And then setting up a user profile. Username, email address, password, information security code, first name and last name. What's important is the username has got some security around it and it shouldn't include the family name in it. And the username is only available to those people that you make it available to. Because in the middle here, it actually says, who do you want this information available to? The public, i.e. everybody who's on EasySpeak, club members of that club only, or club officers only. And you can select which one you want to use in there. Now, another great missing link in here is that people register like this, but then can't get into it. You save it, and then you contact your VPE because you've registered with EasySpeak. You haven't done is join a club. It's actually down to the VPE to allocate you to your club. That's an interesting mistake. So you don't join a club, the club joins you. So that's an important one to do. So contacting the VPE of the club you want to join and saying, please link me to the club that already exists is an important part of the process. There is other information you can put in here if you want to. It's all optional. Only those with a little asterisk beside it are the critical ones. And my recommendation would be to use the same email address and the same password as you do on Pathways. Then you've just got one EasySpeak email address and one Pathways log on that match each other. It makes it a million times easier. Okay. When you log in, you put your name and the password in, click remember me if you want to. After the VPE's actually connected your username to your club, you can then log in. If you're a member of multiple clubs, and there was someone who logged in to come in from Ping Speakers, I think it's Ioannis, you can have multiple clubs in here and you can pick the club that you want to go into. It may sometimes take you straight into the club if you're only a member of one. For new members or for anybody who wants to do it very, very simply, I recommend you click sign up for meetings and sign up for meetings. Now you're asking yourself, why is it in two places? And one of the confusions I think in EasySpeak is that there's so many different ways of doing the same thing. And there's lots of different shortcuts all over the place. So if you have one screen open, there's a shortcut to dive somewhere else. And I think that's one of the reasons why people find it really confusing. So for a new member or anyone to join, I actually recommend they click my participation at the top on the bar at the top and sign up to meetings. And this one screen is everything a new member needs to use to plan their meetings. And this screen comes up for those of you that have put who selected it. Now I'm going to have a kind of a controversial conversation with everybody. Here's a thought. When you join Toastmasters, it's something would be you're going to attend most, if not all, the meetings. So if that's the intention, why not go into EasySpeak and actually go through and say, yep, I'm coming, yep, I'm coming, yep, I'm coming, right the way through as far as the system allows you. And I recommend in EasySpeak opening up as many meetings as you can so people can say yes all the way through. I'm also going to challenge people who think, right, Tuesday night, am I going to Toastmasters tonight? It could be the other way around. Let's go into our diaries, into our notebooks, wherever we write it down, and commit ourselves to say, I'm going to Toastmasters unless I can't. Now, that's unnatural. That's very unnatural because we don't like to let people down, do we? We want to say, yes, we're going to go. We'd rather say nothing than actually say, no, I'm not going to go, and then change your mind. And if you say no, you change your mind and go back and say, oh, yeah, I've changed my mind, I'm going to be yes, it's actually quite difficult. But if you're a vice president of education organizing a meeting and you've got 3/4 of your club who are leaving it to the last minute to say whether they're coming or not, it's pretty difficult to plan. But what the reality is, 80% of those people are going to come anyway. You just don't know which 80% it is. So in our club, we've changed the rules around the other way. I prefer people to say yes, they're going to come, and then say no when they can't. Even if it's on the day of the meeting, and even if they don't have to tell me a reason, I don't mind. Because rearranging one or two people who can't come in the last few days is much, much easier than trying to organize a whole meeting with when you're not sure who's coming, who's not, who's doing speeches and who isn't. So changing the philosophy and saying, yes, I'm coming, and then changing it to say, no, you're not, making that an acceptable practice. And that's fundamental then to getting the EasySpeak working with self-service. So people are going in and saying, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. One of the big gripes of a VPE is they don't know, and then they're chasing people. Are you coming? What role do you want to do? Who you want to do a speech? And it almost seems like a big a real chore to go through and do that. The more people that are going in and being proactive as members and taking an ownership of their Toastmasters role, their Toastmasters journey, the easier it becomes for the VPE and the more successful the club is. Quick reminder on EasySpeak, when you're in there, you can click these little blue boxes in there and it tells you what it is. So timekeeper, for example, it gives you a knowledge base and a little bit of information about that role. And again, that's really useful for the new member. So we only show the new member this screen. We do not show them anything in pathways at this stage. We just expect them to use this one screen. If you want to know what the role is in here, we click on the little blue box, gives them a clue to doing it. Once they've been to a couple of meetings, then we introduce pathways and picking a path. So we're really separating the two things out. Am I coming and what role do I want to do? And then we explain how the roles work. And you click on the yes buttons to say, yes, I'm going to come. You can see who's already doing a role. And then for role you've selected, you can click the red button to say, no, I'm not going to come, or I'm not going to do that role. You can do both. You click it, you get a choice. And it says, are you just declining the role or not going to the meeting at all? And you can put a reason in there if you want to. So if you say, I don't want to be general evaluator, I want to be Zoom master, or I want to be table topics master, you can click that off there. You can click in here and say yes. And it's that one simple screen. So for a new member coming in, they haven't got to worry about what meeting am I in, the next few meetings. The next 4 meetings are shown on the screen, and it's one screen to worry about, one screen to focus on. For a new member, that actually simplifies and demystifies the whole process. You can, of course, at the top here, change the date range and go forward further and scroll all the way out. As I said, confirming attendance, first of all, is a great starting point. Okay, So let's look at roles and a little bit on role. One of the things people are thinking is, what roles have I done before? What's the history? It's very interesting that there are lots of these shortcuts. There's lots of different ways to get into the same screen. So, for example, if you're actually in the main menu, you can click on this club, charts, and role history. Or you can go into a meeting, pick a little box on the side here. There's so many different ways of doing the same thing. What we end up with the role history is actually a screen like this. And if you're actually in the here, you can see this little red one appears in multiple different places. It's the little chart with the red and the blue logos on that. This is really good because you can actually then flick through and you can check, what did I do recently? So you can see in here what roles I've got coming up that I've selected and what roles I've done in the last few weeks, going back to July, August, October. I was away on holiday. You can actually see the roles that I've done. I think, oh, I haven't been an evaluator for a little while. I'll do that for a change. It's something I haven't done recently. I'll be going into EasySpeak in a few minutes' time and just show you how to click around some of these so I can show how it works. That's really useful when you're looking at what role you want to do if you don't plan on doing a speech at the next meeting. That gives you quite a neat way of going into it. Well, let's go to pathways and just talk about the principle of pathways. If we're doing a speech, it doesn't start with doing a speech. It doesn't start with going into EasySpeak and say, I'm going to do a speech in 2 weeks' time. The process should start the other way around. It should be, I'm going into pathways and selecting a project. Now, the fundamental difference there is that you're actually working from pathways over to EasySpeak, not the other way around. So my view would be, typically, if you're selecting a project, you go in there, have a look at what project you want to do next. Some of them are really obvious. Some of them you may want to choose an elective. You select it, you have a little think about what it might be, and then you're getting closer then to actually writing the speech, selecting the evaluator. You pick who you want to evaluate you, or do you allow it down to the VPE to do it? Wouldn't it be great if somebody said, hey Fred, hey Joe, would you mind evaluating my next project? It's on this at the next meeting. A much more proactive way of doing it, or letting the VPE actually randomly select who they want to do it. So a week to write the speech, a week to practice it, and then the meeting day. Also, then really important then that we actually close it out. So we get feedback in written form from the evaluator, and then we go back into pathways to close out that speech. So typically, I think people should be thinking about what project they're going to speak on, not the week before the meeting, three to 4 weeks at least, depending on the length of the project in here, before the meeting, and start from here and go forwards, and then actually go in and ask somebody to be an evaluator for them. They go in and they select it when they've been in and the speaker's been in and requested their speech. So quite an interesting philosophy. Let's get everyone thinking about not when am I doing my next speech in EasySpeak, when am I starting my next project in pathways. That's how it starts. And as Janet said to me a few minutes ago, he said, lots of people that have actually never been into pathways to look at the speeches in the education program and learn it all from the little notes in EasySpeak that give you a clue as to what that speech is all about. That rather defeats the object. What we should be doing is that in EasySpeak is that it's about the meeting. Pathways is about your educational program. That starts then with the onboarding training. And if we're taking people through this logic at the beginning, then everyone's beginning to think that way around. I'm doing my learning program in pathways, and then I'm going to the meeting to actually deliver the speeches. So we then suggest somebody goes in, looks at the sample project, and there's 3 parts to it, isn't there? Prepare, read the project and discuss with the VPE and evaluator ideally. The VPE may suggest somebody. Execute, which could be normally a speech. Obviously, in level 3, 4, and 5, they get a bit more complicated. And then finally, complete by going back in and completing the project in pathway. So it is those 3 steps: prepare, execute, and complete. Everybody follows on the execute bit of it. And some of us that could actually do a 5 to 7 minute speech on the night could actually ignore that and just rock up and give a speech on any topic, and it's fine, isn't it? That's not really the point, because we're missing out on the preparation, we're missing out on reading the pathways educational program and learning from it. Okay. Are there any questions after this point? Because I'm going to dive a little bit more into EasySpeak in a few seconds. Anyone agree or disagree with the philosophy?
So Wisan Lao said, is it more important now to also add the role history to the main TMI base camp? It's because we have to complete certain roles in each pathway level. Shame the 2 platforms are not synced in some ways.
Yeah, it would be great if they were synced. Of course, EasySpeak pulls information out of pathways, but only in what the speeches are, and the length of them, and what an overview of the topic. There's no feedback into Basecamp from EasySpeak. It's only a one-way pull, and there's no update in what you've done in pathways. And that's really important, because it's up to the member then to keep the 2 things in sync. I've actually seen somebody complete 2 levels in EasySpeak, and then they haven't closed out any of those projects in pathways. So they completed their level 1. It hasn't come up for a certificate to be awarded, hasn't come up for any completion to be done. And that's really important then, that the 2 things are kept in sync. So yeah, you are right. It is important to go back and keep those 2 things in sync. And if you are updating the roles in Basecamp, you've been an evaluator, that's certainly useful to do that, because it gives you the history. And that's down to the member. The member keeps everything updated in pathways, and only the member. All the VPE can do is confirm what's happening. In EasySpeak, the VPE could go in and allocate you a role because you have completed it. And that's one of the things that makes EasySpeak so easy for the VPE to do it for all the members. If the members were doing it for themselves and keeping the 2 things in balance, everything would be a darn sight easier right the way through.
Adrian, we have a question from Lucinda. Can you explain again how to see the roles you have done over the past few months?
Yeah. But I'll do it I will demonstrate it in a few seconds' time. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, let me just flick through the next few screens, and then I'll dive into EasySpeak and show you some of it directly. Okay, so this is one of the useful screens to see, to check my progress. And it's actually in my participation here, view my speech progress. And you can actually go in here and see what speeches you've done, when you did it. It's got the date in there, and the ticks in here. If you look at them, some of the ticks are in dark green, some are in light green. But the dark green one, it means that you've done it more than, I think, 6 months ago. Light green, it's been done within the last 6 months. If you've got a clock in there, it means you're scheduled to do a speech coming up. And there's mine there, one scheduled for the 30th of January. And if you've got one with a speech bubble and a question mark there, you've requested it, but the VPE hasn't yet scheduled it. So you request a speech, and the VPE then goes in, allocates it. And when you are requesting it, I'll show you this in a minute, you can actually then select which date you want it, with a second and third choices. So this is quite useful to see where you are. And you can look down here and say, right, I've got down this far, I want to do this speech here. Like, you can click the little man here, it will actually open up then the request a speech icon when you're actually in it. If you click the question mark, it gives you that wonderful little clue as to what this speech is all about. And as Janet alluded to, you can read that and get a pretty good idea of what it's about. So at that point, then, when you've clicked it, up pops this screen: speech title, workbook, speech, and preferred dates. Now, I don't worry too much about the speech title being done when someone's requesting it. TBA is fine for me. They can decide that at the last minute. It doesn't really make a lot of difference. What does make a big difference is the workbook speech and the preferred dates. So you can select a workbook that you've already got available, or you can start a new workbook. If you're an officer or a VPE of the club, keep a close eye on new members to make sure they're doing it correctly. I saw somebody who went into dynamic leadership in here and selected it, but actually then opened a path, which was presentation mastery in pathways, and they were selecting the speech in dynamic leadership in here and a different path in the other side. So the VPE, you keep a close eye on who's doing it well and who doesn't, and you'll know who's requesting them and keeping them in line. So it's another recommendation is to keep your features in EasySpeak and in pathways closed and in line. So you request it. There's 3 dates to put in there. On the first date if you're preferred, and then 2 backup dates if you can't, if you can't put you in for the first one. So you've got success. There's 2 things: attendance. Are you coming? Yes or no? I pick for the VPE. And are you doing a project? Are you speak at the meeting? So this is pathway success executed in EasySpeak. And then it's down to the member to keep Basecamp and EasySpeak aligned so that the 2 things are in sync with each other. That's really important. It makes the VPE's job a million times easier. Okay. Any questions at this stage before I flick open into EasySpeak and actually have a quick look at a few things?
Yeah, I've got a question about logging into EasySpeak for the first time a member has joined. There's usually a splash screen saying, "Are you human?" That sort of thing. And we've had one member saying they've been blocked. We just don't know how to unblock them.
That's a good question. And I need to remind myself how to do it. You have to go, you can't unblock it yourself. You've got to go back into requesting a support from the EasySpeak team to unblock them, because there is a blacklist and a whitelist of email addresses. So that actually needs the team to do it. And there is actually a WhatsApp group for EasySpeak support, and it's quite interesting now that that's much easier to use and quicker to use, and more people are using that than actually using the help button in EasySpeak itself. It's a bit of a slower and less dynamic way of doing it, and it went to the EasySpeak guys, whereas the group we've got on WhatsApp is actually more dynamic. I'll show you that in a second. Actually, the second thing we're going to have a look at.
And Wally has raised his hand, Adrian.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to comment on that. What you must do in the help section, you will find, I don't know if you can just see where you have help. There is an option to put your questions in the forum. It will then get to us, and we can help you with the unblocking of the mail. So you need to please give us all the information that you have, so that we need. I see he's going in there, and you go to help on top. All right, we see it now live, and there you are in the discussion forum. Then you can just scroll down. If you scroll down, and there's an option that says, "How do I?" And there you can put a new question. So just put whatever you have there, put it there, or check if there are other questions. If you already see an answer there somewhere, then you can use that as well. But then we, as the support team in the background, we will get that, we will see that, and we will help you.
Great, thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
great. I didn't realize you were one of the technical team
Ah.
behind it. Actually, that's useful to know.
Yeah. And
Yes,
Lucinda has confirmed that she was blocked when she tried logging in from a country outside the UK, and the support team unblocked her. So
Yeah, exactly that.
confirmation the system works.
It does. And I'm assuming you can actually do that on behalf of somebody else as well, because if they can't get in, it actually needs the VPE to go in there and raise that request. If you look in here, a lot of these have been raised by all these questions have been raised by a number of different people. The sticky ones at the top of the runs that Malcolm raised over the years, and them going back quite a long way as to how to do things and that, so they're quite useful. It's good.
We actually don't have a VPE, but I'm VPM. So can I raise the ticket?
Yeah, if you've got access into, you should be able to. Everyone's got access to the help button. I will just touch on. Let me just answer that other question that came up earlier on when we were talking about what was the first question? I've forgotten it. I was going to demonstrate it when I came over. Oh, the roles, isn't it? Okay, so let's just go into press the speech. Hang on, there we go. I was going to go into club charts, roles by member or role history, and then you can click. Here's all the members in here. It's actually clicked role summary, and it pops up. When it pops up, we've actually got them. You can see a number of times you've been that person since 8th of December 24. You can then click on role summary. You can click on all meetings. When you're in all meetings, you can then scroll down and look at the most recent ones like I did. So role summary and role all meeting are the actual two useful. And so just move the cursor across it and it flicks between them. And you can actually look at your status history in here, which shows your membership at that club. So you can see that I joined it way back in 15 and then rejoined it again recently. Interesting in here actually shows you you've got one speech requested, one scheduled. I've attended 21 out of 24 meetings, 87%. I have advised 12 online and 24 times on time, up to 100% on target with advising on time to the VPE. So that's quite a useful thing. And a number of these screens, this screen here, the role history one, allows you to see who's been speakers at which meeting, who's done what role. You can see who's speaking the most. Recently, I've done 9 speeches. Other people have done 7 and 6, and some people are newer members and they're yet to do their icebreakers. So we've got a few people that are recently joined.
Okay. Adrian, we have a question from Caroline.
Yeah.
Can you backdate a speech in Pathways? I did my
Yes.
icebreaker, but did not log it in Pathways at the time, and now I cannot find a way to do it. I didn't have a proper induction. Sam. Okay.
In Pathways, not in EasySpeak. Yeah.
Caroline?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
I think I'm not entirely sure without going logging in, whether I was trying to do it in EasySpeak or Pathways, but if I can do it in Pathways, I guess that's the most important, isn't it?
Yeah, well, isn't it? If you've done speech in the club meeting, it'll be pretty likely you put it in the agenda, so therefore it will already be logged
Yeah,
in.
no, this was at a time when the club was going through a patch, a very dry patch, let's say, and there's actually nothing logged at all for the whole of April. So there are no role history. There's no role history or speech history for for that period of time.
Right. Okay.
So
There's a couple of ways to do
yes, sorry, it was
it.
definitely EasySpeak, and I was trying to add it belatedly,
Yeah. Well,
and I couldn't.
what you could do in that circumstances is the only reason it's in EasySpeak is to allow it to go on the agenda, really, but it's really useful for the VPE then to be able to just double check then what you've put in pathways matches what's in EasySpeak, and I always do that check before I tick everybody off. If they say they've done 4 speeches for a level completion, I go into EasySpeak, I have a look at EasySpeak, they did it on this date, this date, and this date, and then I go and compare and actually turn it in pathways. So if the VPE having got that for the club, then EasySpeak, they can take your word and said you've completed it, which is fine. Or you actually go in and create a new meeting. I presume you can create a new meeting going backwards, actually. Let me just see if I can do that. I don't know whether I can create a new meeting.
Wally, is this something related to the question?
Yes, it is.
Okay, go for it.
Creating a new meeting in the back in the past is obviously possible, but I think it's far too complicated. I would just record that speech as an external speech.
Well, that's another option as well for doing that. You can do that. So when you request a speech, you request it as you would do normally and put a date in there. Let me just create one for humor. Let's do that one. I'll do that one and I'll put a date in there and I'll just select it. The next meeting and I'll save it. You can then, the VPE can then go back in and you can obviously make it outside of. I think it's only a VPE that can do it, I think.
Yeah, you're right. It's only the VPE.
The VPE opens up this screen, which is one that I've logged in now as a VPE, and they've got another button on here called Schedule Speeches, so they can schedule it. Here, it's actually got Adrian for that date as a requested, but instead of doing that, they can go to the top here and click this button, click it, and then it will come up with a box, and the date can be put back in history then, so you can put in there
Okay.
2023.
Thank you.
And they can
That's
even put in who evaluated it, so you can go back in if it was one of the club members.
Mm.
If you remember who it was, and it's save external speech, which reminds you then what club it's being. Technically, you can actually change the speech in here as well, and you can change the speech title. But it does need a speech to be requested either by the member or requested by the VPE, because the VPE can actually request speeches on behalf of other people. And as you're looking on here, you can see these question marks that we've seen before here, where someone's got a speech that isn't yet scheduled, because these are a couple of new members that haven't yet done their speeches. So when the VPE is looking at all of this in EasySpeak, they can actually look at the meetings that are coming up, and they can schedule it out as far as they want to. And in my club, we've actually gone out to August next year. We can literally go through meetings all the way through. And what's quite funny to see, if I keep going forwards from that into May next year, as you can see, we've already got 3 members who are saying they're coming on the 23rd of June 2026.
That's very good forward planning.
That's commitment.
It's really useful. We're glad there's probably about 60-70% of the people that will go out and do that. Dream going out this far, of course, but that allows you then to go in there and do special things like make the meeting our annual general meeting is already planned for that meeting on the 12th of May next year. It's already in there, so we already know that from the very beginning. So again, it's really useful for a VPE to schedule all the meetings going out. And here's the difference I said about the detailed agenda and the summary agenda. The summary agenda here Open it. It's quite short. You've got the times against every single one all the way down through. And it just says evaluate speech 1, 2, and 3. If I go back in and open up the detailed agenda, it's got introduce the evaluators 1, 2, and 3. What I should be doing actually there is having another line in between there, adding it in there. Vote for best speaker as a reminder. Corporate speech time. Toastmaster, Toastmaster, Toastmaster. 3 instructions there for the Toastmaster, so giving them much more clues. I should actually have not introduced evaluators. That should be 3 separate ones, because normally the Toastmaster hands over to the evaluator who handles back, hands back at the end, and there's each one all the way through. So I can play with that as well. And it gives a more accurate time as well. So it always takes a few seconds to come on stage and go back on stage as well. So that's quite a useful thing to do. And you can print off these in advance, or you can actually print them as a PDF, and you can send them to the club on EasySpeak. On WhatsApp groups if you've got them. One thing that I do as a club officer, I've actually got a WhatsApp group with the club. Everyone in the club automatically joins it unless they really don't want to, and that's a very rare occasion. One for the committee, so the committee can then change it. And then I have a one-on-one WhatsApp group with every individual in the club, so I can message somebody and say, hey Dave, do you fancy being Toastmaster in 3 weeks' time? And he goes back and says yes or whatever, and then he says I'll put it in EasySpeak, or I say I'll do it for him because I've already got it open, whichever way we're going to do it. And when you're addressing somebody individually, do you want to do this? When do you want to do your next speech? It's far more effective than actually reaching out to a group and saying who wants to do a speech next meeting, because everybody thinks somebody else is going to do it, and then nobody ends up doing it. So it's a one-to-one contact. It's a bit more work, but then gradually over a period of time, it takes weeks, more and more people start being more proactive, taking ownership of their own roles, and that really helps. I'll just change back to being a club member view now, because I'm a club member and I'm a VP, an area director, so that was confusing. Interesting. Thanks to Wally and the team, they've actually we've found some issues where area directors who are also club VPEs were having some access issues, so that's now been resolved, which is really useful. So coming back into this screen is really useful for actually a new member, and I highly recommend, if you are a new member or you are training a new member or coaching them, don't get them to do anything else apart from use this one screen. If they do want to look at the meeting, then you can click on it like that, and you can expand it out. Yep, and then go back. So I recommend, much easier to actually use this screen as a new member than my participation screen. There is the request speech button on here as well. So you can actually, if you know what you're doing, without even going into any other screen, you can see everything on this one screen. Okay, any other questions? Okay, one thing I will touch on, one thing you can do as a VPE is you can actually send emails out. And this is an interesting debate that Janet and I were having earlier on about sending emails to the club. So you can actually create a set of emails from the meeting and send those emails out. So the VPE, you can click it and you can then choose to send a number of different emails to the club. I found if it's a broadcast email like that, emails aren't quite as effective as WhatsApp. You could do both, but then there's the risk then of overloading everybody with lots of information. So it's much better to be, I think, not to use those emails. Unless you've got a really big club and it's difficult to manage, but you can actually send out emails. You can send an email saying, thank you for confirming I've assigned you a role, or thank you for confirming I've not assigned you a role. And you can actually send out the final agenda when it's completed. So you're actually using these as a VPE all the way through. it is quite effective. Whatever works for your club. I find for our club, WhatsApp is really good. But
Yeah, the advantage of the emails is, of course, it's got the link to the meeting at the foot of them.
it does. Absolutely, it does. So it's really good. They are very effective. Depends what works for your club. Email systems. People aren't reading emails. They've got lots of emails coming in today, junk boxes and everything. It's a bit more complicated, but there are those two options in there. It's very important. Those
So
of you that are,
Wisan Lia has a question. Does the VPE or president or other officer have the most functionality in EasySpeak to access all the tasks you've shown?
yes and no. It depends. Always yes and no. But here I'm going under the hood. I'm going actually into the club control panel. And what's really important in here is that for the club officers, you can actually select what they do. So one is editable. So if you want to make I don't know, the secretary, for example, you can go in and give them access to doing things. So access to the control panel, yes or no. So actually, they are very customizable. They depend what your club has actually set up. So in here, club Terry can send emails to all members. They can't do all these things that say no. So this is mostly no. If I go back over to the Vice President of Education, surprisingly, everything's yes. So if you've got a president who's very dangerous, you don't want them going in and mucking it all up, you change them to no. And if you want them to have access, say yes. So my view would be it's quite especially access to the control panel. And this is the control panel for the various roles. And you can actually then change the meeting roles in here. You can add in new meeting roles, a timekeeper, a general evaluator. If they're not in there, you can add in extra roles and you can then say what they do, what sort of role is it. You can actually have different member statuses. So you can have a member, special guest, a visitor, and again, can they take a role? Can they speak? Are they on the attendance list, etc.? So a lot of customization can be done in the background, and I think that's really useful to be able to do that, as well as the agendas themselves. So again, I'll just quickly show you this. If you're not a club officer, I can actually go in and the agenda. So although there's agenda in here, I can actually go in, I can change the order, I can add in, as I will do here, introduce the introduce the evaluator, by spelling, and I can then make that for the Toastmaster of the evening. I can say it's going to take a duration of 1 minute. New agenda item, and I can plug it in the middle here. Introduce evaluator for the Toastmaster into the agenda, and then the agendas could be saved as templates afterwards. So again, there's a lot of clever things you can do in the background. Once you set this up, and you've given it a name, Modern Speakers 3 Speeches. This is the default one that we use. It's already in there. It's already set up. So again, you can be very clever then with the agendas. This yes, no, and yes says whether it's on the detailed agenda, the summary agenda, and what the last N is off the top of my head. Have a look and see. Go in there. Introduced. Oh yeah, whether the space align after it or not, so you can break the meeting down into different sections if you want to. And in here, you put in the green, amber, and red times if you want that particular role to be timed by the timekeeper. A lot of customization in the background there, both of agendas and of club roles and of meeting locations. And that's really where the VPE can get under the hood and understand how it all works in the background. Is there any other questions come up?
No, none in the chat.
Okay, just in here, we've actually got a number of different speeches set up. If we're having an open house, we've got an agenda for that. table topics competition, we've got an agenda for that. All features agenda for that. With these all set up already with everything already defined in advance, so it's much easier than just to set up the agenda and flick it over before a VPE and change it from 3 members to 4 speakers. So yeah, it's quite interesting. There's also an option in here which is auto assign, when you can actually, as VPE, just click the button and it randomly, not randomly, assigns people to roles automatically without actually going in there and thinking about it. A lot of clubs do that. Everyone knows in the club if it's randomly done. I tend to do it deliberately, and I think, who do I want to be Toastmaster? Who am I bringing on board? Who am I coaching? Who do I want to be the general evaluator? Are they ready? When do I want them to do it? So when do I think they're ready to do it? That's one of the roles of a VPE, to be able to give someone a nudge or a push, or allow them the time to develop and come to them. And that's part of the leadership skills that we learn as officers of the club, to actually educate ourselves on how to negotiate, how you fill the role, and how you bring people on in a good place without actually doing it too quickly or too slowly. So that's the things I wanted to cover. I will just show you at the top here, there are in the menus that here quite a few other things that you can do.
We just have another question from Lucinda.
Okay.
She's the VPE for the first time this year, and
Ooh.
always something to learn. I wanted to add a new role, SAA of the evening, but I couldn't save it. Is there a limitation on new roles?
No. If it is, it's a huge number. You go into control panel, you go into meeting roles, come down to the bottom, add a new one, and then put in the boxes. There is a role comment in there, a role abbreviation, and then you can select then, can it complete? Is it fillable? Is it only for competitions? Hide it from public view. I might want to do that for judges, for example. So I actually hide the judges from public view, so they can't see who selected themselves as a judge. So no, you should be able to. And here's these automatic role settings. Is this the screen that you were using, Lucinda, to do it?
It was Lucinda. She said it might be an anomaly because she did what you suggested, but it never saved it.
Let's just try it. I'm sure it should be.
I'll try again, Adrian, after this session.
May I just jump in here? Lucinda, you're quite right. We have a bug at the moment. It doesn't work. We're working on it. It's been reported. Reese from IT knows about it. It's on the list.
Thank you.
So you should be your bug finder then, Lucinda. Your role.
Thank you. No, I'm very, very happy to find why it wouldn't work, because it was driving me nuts.
Actually, in the last couple of months or so, I've actually seen more bugs than were there before that have come back into it. So whether someone's been changing something, and then there's been a knock-on effect of other things not working because something's been changed. And when a new team takes over, when you make a change in the code, it's very easy to knock other bits out. So I'm guessing why that's probably what's happened, something like that. One of the things that we do in the club as well is we actually put a meeting report in the front of the meeting to actually update it, and we've got all the information down the front. So we've got the last couple of meetings in here with a photograph of the winners and the committee members on there. So again, you can use EasySpeak in different ways of doing it, depending on what you want to do.
Fantastic.
Okay. I'm going to draw a line there. We're up to the 1 hour point. Has everybody found it useful? Has everyone learned something?
Yeah, definitely, Adrian. It's very, very helpful. Thank you.
I've learned something as well, by the way, which is
it's always good for a teacher.
I've got another question. I'm the VPE of an online club, and we've got some overseas members. When I print out the agenda, when I prepare the agenda for the meeting, it shows the educational qualifications, i.e., the pathways, progress, etc., that each member has attained so far. It prints that on the agenda. But for one of our overseas members, he's from the United States, so I guess he's using a different version of EasySpeak, or was in his club before he joined this one. And is there some way of importing the information from that version of EasySpeak about his progress through pathways into the EasySpeak that we're using now, the British one?
I could say that. I've just spent a couple of years working in America, and I joined an American club, so I had exactly that problem. So what I actually did was I actually got a printout or a screenshot from EasySpeak UK, and then I went into the other one with the VPE, and we entered them all as done outside Toastmasters. We just entered them all in there because I was going to be over there for a big period of time. And then when I came back from America, I had to do the opposite and update what I've done in America back into the UK. I don't know unless anyone else does an automated way of doing that. But using that done outside Toastmasters bit is really useful because you can't assign it to the club meeting because you're in a different country when you actually did it. And the free databases for the three versions of EasySpeak are all separate.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
It's a bit of a pain in the backside to actually do it, but it is a once option to actually then literally go in. If I was in here, I'd actually do it like this. I'd go in, I would then go in as a VPE into schedule speeches, and I would then click the member's name and request a speech for them. So I would actually go into here. It's a quick way of doing it. I'd probably just go in and go into membership management in here and request a speech for that individual. And then I go in and then request a whole load of speeches and then just go in and schedule them. But yeah, you have to do them all one by one. I can't think of a way, unless anyone else knows a way of manually doing it. It's a one-off job. Update it. If they are an overseas visitor and they're running two EasySpeaks at once, that's a nightmare because if they want to keep the two things in line and see what's going on, they've got to then get the VPE in the opposite club to update what features they've done in the other version of EasySpeak and keep the two databases in line. If they're actually moving and only moving from America to the UK, it's going to be a long-term one. Right, it's more logical to do that. The other way of doing it, of course, is for them to, if I remember of two clubs, one in one database, one in the other, is to their home database, add in the ones in their online club, put in there so they can see what they're doing. And then it really, that as the master, and in the UK one, they would just see what they've done in the UK.
Right, okay, thanks.
So there's quite a few ways of doing that, but yeah, it's not very easy. I know there has been conversations about bringing the databases into one. Why not have one big one? But the amount of work that it will involve is huge. So that's unlikely to happen, I think.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Adrian. Thank you.
Good. Well, if nobody has any more questions, we'll just bid you a good rest of the evening.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you again, Adrian, for your insights on this.